Hello. Happy Sunday afternoon, everybody. How are you? Welcome in. It's been a minute. Since I've been live over here, but we're here for a special occasion. And I am so honored to be here with two very impactful queens, women, whom I will introduce you to here shortly. And we are here to tell you the story about the fourth quarter reset, because there is a story and you need to understand the story to understand why this even exists. From the author herself, Dr. CC, who I'm going to bring to the stage. She is an author and she has done some amazing stuff. Let me get this stuff off her face so y'all can see her. Okay, there she go. Welcome, Dr. CC. You're on mute. How you doing?
I am absolutely amazing, Dr. Jayla Ray. Thank you so much for hosting this evening.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you are here, and I am so glad as well that we have Reverend Dr. Coach Hope, who will be joining us here in a second. But before we bring her on and introduce her, I do want to ask a question of everyone who's here. First, I want to say, hey, hit the share button, okay? ABCs of Leadership Fourth Quarter Reset is for anyone leading in any space, okay? So it's not just you hear the word leadership and you think, oh, that's not me. No, it is. It's you. And we're going to be talking a little bit more so that you can understand what it is. So share this with someone who it can help, encourage, motivate, inspire, all the things, okay? Go ahead and hit the share button. And also tell us, where are you tuning in from? In the comments, where are you tuning in from? Are you in Atlanta? You in North Carolina? You in Mississippi? You in California? Arizona? Where are you calling? Where are you from? Tell us where you're from so we can interact with you. So we thank you for doing that. And we're going to bring up the Coach Hope, Reverend Dr. Coach Hope. Welcome, Dr. Hope. How are you?
Hey, how y'all doing?
We're good. How are you?
Doing great. Glory be to God. Let's get it.
Yes, ma'am. So I just welcome Dr. CC. I welcomed you. I'm going to pass it to you to start this conversation because I think the people need to know the story of the fourth quarter reset.
Well, listen, I am so elated to be here with both of these queens on today. They are exceptional, extraordinary, and all the way fine women of God. Let me tell you something. If you do not know about the fourth quarter reset, I'm just going to ask you where you been. Where have you been and what have you been doing? Because clearly you're not where we are. Okay. So the fourth quarter reset is an opportunity for those of you who know you need more, know that you're ready for more, know that you need community. This is the place for you. So I'm going to start by asking the ladies a few questions, and they're going to give us some candid responses and tell us exactly who this fourth quarter reset is for. Now, let me say this. Some of you been playing all year long. Come on, give God praise. It's Sunday, right? We can tell the truth. We've been telling, God, all the things, all the prayers, all the promises, but now you have an opportunity to really hit the ground running. So, Dr. CC, tell everybody what the fourth quarter reset is and how was this birthed out?
Well, it started with you, Dr. Hope. So what I will say, I want to go on record. You always got to give God honor and praise. But he gave me this desire to write a book. And it wasn't until the pandemic where I had to literally separate myself from everything and everybody. That included my child, that included my mom, that included my staff. I'm currently an elementary school principal. but I had to literally take some days off work, go to a hotel and stay there by myself, with myself and with the word. And so the ABCs of leadership started. I was leading in a pandemic. Nobody had a manual for it. And so I was just figuring things out. And so, of course, I try to anchor myself in the word as much as I can. And so I just started thinking about what are the principles that are non-negotiables for leaders, whether you're leading your household, whether you're leading an organization, whether you're trying to develop an organization to lead. So I just pulled out some of those principles like adaptability, compassionate, building meaningful relationships. And so I want to say the first Saturday in September, Dr. Hope, you were doing your first Saturday praise that you do every month. And you called me out. And you called me out not only with authority, but conviction. And one of the things that I'm grateful for is that I was able to hear you. And able to just literally do what you asked me to do. You tagged Dr. Jayla Ray, and she helped me birth the first ABCs of leadership. So she was my leadership coach. She was my author coach. She was my marketing coach. She was my everything coach to get this book from my brain to Amazon. And so when you said that, I literally had to take action immediately because I knew that there was a time, and that time was now. And so the fourth quarter reset, everything has to have a theme for me. In order for me to understand it, in order for me to process it, it had to make sense. And so I said, well, you know what? We're heading into the fourth quarter. But that created another level of anxiety because I'm like, wait, I have 3 weeks to get a whole journal out. What's the cover going to be? What am I going to include? How can I make this different than what we've already utilized? And so I literally took those scriptures that were originally in the first one, added some more, added some very poignant questions that we typically don't ask ourselves out loud. And this journal is not for me. It's for us to actually look into ourselves and define our path, but using a structure to do so. So I'm super grateful for you and Dr. Jayla Ray. But like I said, I had to move with conviction in that moment. So thank you. And thank you both, actually.
Well, listen, I know Dr. Jayla Ray is over there cheering very expressively because I'm over here like, yes, Queen, yes, I love God. And so one of the things that I heard you say, there was some non-negotiables, you're creating something for structure, you heard a sound and you responded, you didn't vacillate, you isolated actually to get some things done. And I know as a professional woman and you have responsibilities, this was something that you literally was able to birth out quickly, right? Yet with that birthing, right, and the quickness of it, it doesn't take away from the substance of it, right? So we want people to hear that today, because so many times people think, oh, you just heard something, you just manifested quick, so it can't be all of that. Listen, saints, it's all of that and then some, okay? Because this is not the first rodeo. Do y'all hear God today? She has done a work before, and this is an additional work, another stream. And so I'm grateful to hear you say that. Dr. Jayla Ray, let me turn it over to you for a quick moment. Now, how did you feel when you heard Dr. CC talk about you was that all things kind of coach, amen, helping her get from this next level, right? Finishing one thing, going into another. What does that feel like for you working with another woman of God to see her get excited, get focused, and get finished with something so quickly?
That's an awesome question. And I can first say, to God be all the glory. I am simply a vessel, and it fills me with fire when she obeys the prophecy that's released from the prophets of God. You said a word to her, and before the night was out, she had me a long text with a plan as to how she was going to move in obedience, not knowing the end game. She just know what she heard, and she obeyed. So all of that, even from the first book, when she heard and obeyed and didn't know which way to go, I was just helpful that God had equipped me with knowledge, right? Taking me on this journey where I could be of assistance and guidance to someone else ready to tell their story, share their knowledge, help the kingdom. This is kingdom work. This is kingdom work. So it makes me feel absolutely amazing. I overflow with joy, and I'm excited to see the impact of this, because leadership is critical. And a lot of people take that word and they think they're not a leader. So they never work on those leadership skills, right? But this tool, this resource is here for everybody to dig deep within and grow in that space. So that's how it makes me feel. And I'm just excited again. I say the bottom line for me, she heard the prophecy, she received the prophecy, she obeyed the prophecy without hesitation nor alteration. And you told her where her help was going to come from. And guess who she came to? The person you called out.
I love God. Listen, I tell people if they're missing out on our community, our connection, our kingdom sisterhood, they're missing a lot because we really want to see everybody win. Now, tell us, what can we expect, Dr. CC, from this fourth quarter reset? What can we expect?
So the biggest thing, I want to make sure that everybody's clear and this is only based on my experience. So this is not the end all be all. It's just based on my experience, based on my success, based on my challenges. These are some of those key concepts that I think every leader should have or have pieces of to help impact their household or their organization. And so when we're thinking about, I shared with you that there are ABCs. So the new partnerships for N, the T for trust, the O for optimistic or optimism. But the other part is at the beginning of the journal, I didn't want it to just be a page with a nice cover and blank pages, right? Because that's what, when I shared with somebody that I was doing a journal, that's what they expected me to produce. And so when they saw it, they said, oh my, this is a real journal, because I want you to take time. And this is one of those moments where you take time with yourself to get to know yourself as an individual. Because if you're not clear on who you are as a person or child of God, you're not going to know who you are as a leader doing God's work. And so that was critical for me. And so the other part of that is the beginning is all about you. This is where you toot your own horn, because what I also know about great leaders is they very seldomly take time to celebrate their success. They very seldomly take time. They're always amping everybody else up, right? You want to make sure that everybody's in the room is excited. But at the end of the day, you have to take that time to give yourself that extra grace and mercy and make sure that people know who you are when you enter a room. So that's one of the things that I've had to actually work on in the last 18 months, because I'm very comfortable going in the room, sitting down, being quiet. If you ask me a question, I'll answer, but that's the end of that. But now your presence has to be known and it has to be felt. And it also has to be clear who you are and whose you are, right? Because there's nothing that I have that is because of me. It's because God saw fit to give that to me. So who am I to keep it, right? And so the beginning, what are your passions? What are your accomplishments? What have you done really well? And I'm one of those people. What have you done that nobody thought you could do? Because see, I'm first generation. And so I love being Dr. CC, but I love being a product of Southeast Atlanta, right? And so I want people to know that it does not matter where you start, it's how you end. But once you get there, you can't stay there and you have to take somebody with you. Okay. So when you're going through this, and then I said, well, I'm an educator, right? So I have to teach the people something like, how do you comprehend? So we know that we're always talking about literacy, how in education land, but we need to think about that in these fields, whether it's nursing, whether it's medical, wherever it is, whether it's stocks and investment. You have to leave the people with something so that they can take somebody else with them. So I did pull out a quick little snippet on how to comprehend text, because again, this is based in scripture, but if you don't understand what you're reading, it's not going to help you or those people that are following you. And so just having that critical conversation with myself, because I'm not where I want to be. I'm just happy I'm not where I started. And so because I'm going through the journey with the people. So it's not, I'm going to sit on the screen and just talk with you. No, we're going through it together, because there's some places I have to go and I'm not there yet. But also, how does love, grace, joy, and strength show up based on the word? Not the worldly principles, but how do those four components show up, and what can we do with them to make sure that those that are following us absolutely understand where we're headed?
Absolutely. I love that. And so for those of you who are tuning in, or those of you catching the replay, listen, this is for you. What Dr. CC has curated and cultivated, she and Dr. Jayla Ray, this is really for you, because you don't want to be stuck and still ruminating over missed opportunities. This is your time to really do an investigation of yourself, reattach yourself to that identity the way God sees you, and to move forward with the strategies that are going to really help you hit the ground running, being your best self. Dr. Jayla Ray, what else can people think about as they are making this decision to register for this conference? What else are you going to offer for those of us who are planning to attend?
I think it's a lot of things. I think there's a lot of layers to this opportunity, this God opportunity. I think it's a space to even build community, come together with people of like minds, right? Some may be like journeys. Leadership is a journey. So you're going to come into community with people to be able to work through some of those things. And some things may catch you off guard when you dig into yourself, because on that journey of introspection, when you find yourself and see some of the things in yourself, you're like, oh, but guess what? You're going to be in a space where you can talk about that thing. You can hear other testimonies of other people who may have journeyed through that thing. Perspective to me is everything. So I think when you come together with others talking about these leadership principles and these ABCs of leadership, we're all going to learn a lot. I don't care how many times we've been through this book or this journal. Every time will be a new journey. Another thing I think that people will get is a moment of devotion. Devotion is critical, right? And I know some of us may do our, Jesus in the morning. We may do a scripture on the word version here, but this is another opportunity to come into community to do devotion that's based in the truth, the word, the things that we know that resonate with us to help guide our journey. So I think they're going to get all of that. And I truly think it's going to be some shifts. There's going to be some transformations. And I think people are going to gain confidence, and they're going to understand that not only do their voice have an assignment, their leadership has an assignment, and their journey altogether has an assignment. We're all here for a purpose. And I think all of that will come through this commitment of Thursday nights on Zoom from 8 to 9, from October to December. Don't be scared of the commitment. I've talked to a couple of people that's like, that's a commitment. It is a commitment. If you're not going to commit to that, what you going to commit to? Watching TV? How is that feeding your spirit? I mean, I'm just being real. We got to be careful what we put into us, because what we put in come out. And I think I like looking for positive things. I like looking for growth opportunities. And this is a growth opportunity that was a godsend.
I love that. It's a growth opportunity. Did you hear that, Dr. Cece? A growth opportunity. Absolutely. And so when we hear that, right? Ideally, when you're talking about leaders and leadership, and some people not identifying themselves as a leader, even though they are leading, whether it's in the home or in other arenas, would you tell us ideally, if somebody is still wondering if this is for me, this fourth quarter reset, what can you say to the person who knows they need something different? They may or may not know you specifically, but maybe they're hearing the sound today that can help push them toward a decision. Would you say something to that leader who may feel like, I don't know if this really is for me?
Okay, and so I am one of those people. I like to anchor myself in the resource. And so I'm sitting here just looking at the ABCs, and that's the first thing that popped out was quiet yourself. If you're in question, quiet yourself, because the only way you can hear him is if you're listening. Now, he can definitely get your attention one way or the other, but the way that you can hear him is if you're listening. And so one thing that I would always tell people, if you're confused about anything, quiet yourself, get away from all the noise. Like this, the ABCs of Leadership, the book, was birthed from me isolating myself from those who I love most, for those things that I love to do most, from those places I love to go most. The other thing that came out was understanding and my well-being. So this was one of those things that I had to step away from everything else, not knowing that when I released this book, less than 30 days later, my dad would pass away, right? So it was a lot. This had to be done. It was timing. It was one of those things where I had to trust myself enough to know that I knew not what was coming next. And if I could have figured it out, I wouldn't have been lost, right? So I always tell people, if you don't know, the only thing you can do is try. And at the end of the day, both the book and the journal are amazing resources. And we made it to where it was very reasonably priced, because the information is more important than the profit. And I want to make sure people understand that, because I've charged a lot more for a lot less, right? And so I want to make sure that people understand my purpose, my passion, they are aligned with my path. And so what I am required to do, if it's only 3 people, I still have to show up every Thursday from 8 to 9 during this fourth quarter, from October the 6th to December the 8th. I can't be challenged by that, because that's not my focus. My focus is getting the word out. My focus is making sure that people know how to think differently about how they're leading their household and their organization. Because the truth of the matter is, every woman, 99.93% of every woman is a leader, whether they signed up for it or not, right? And so if we're focusing on that fact, then why not be a better version of ourselves? Why not be able to lead our children better? Why not be able to lead our organization, or even have those critical conversations about where I am as a leader? Because looking at what they say, they being the people mostly of the world, I probably shouldn't be here, but guess what? I am. So I'm thriving. But how do I continue? How do I the biggest piece of my leadership is building capacity of others. I see a couple of people that are in the chat that we've worked together. They didn't work for me. We worked together. I am very big on building capacity of other leaders, people that have come to me that were already leaders in positions higher than mine, but there's still something to learn. I'm one of those people. Anybody can have my office. Y'all can show up tomorrow and have my office, because my work is in the space in my building, in those different spaces where I have children that are struggling, parents that are struggling raising their children. I didn't take a course on how to help a mommy behave or work on her child. That's not what I went to school for, but guess what? It's a part of the job. And so one thing about the ABCs of leadership is stepping outside of title to get the purpose of that position done well. Because again, I'm looking at the table of contents. It says lead spiritually well. How do we do that? It's by being a risk taker. It's about trusting those people in the position around you that are there to lift you up. It's trusting the people that you don't know, because again, Dr. Hope, we're here because of your prophecy to me. And who's even to say, like, you saw that I was there, but you didn't know I was listening? Because, people are gone for everything nowadays, and let's leave the phone or the computer in the other room. But when you spoke, I heard you clearly. And this wasn't the first time I heard it, but it was the first time I took immediate action, right? So God is pleased. I'm just happy that I'm able to hear you guys and do something that I did not set out to do. Let me be very clear. I was so comfortable with the ABCs of leadership. I thought that was it. And I did what I was told. I did what I was called to do. But again, once that call comes, and that's what I want to leave people with. We can't wait on what's next. Because what's next may not be promised. You may not be here to see what's next. And just think about that when you're looking back down, because we're claiming we're all going to heaven. So when we're looking around, like, I was supposed to do that. That was something I was called to do. Not that you missed your calling, but you didn't fulfill it.
Listen, give this woman an ordination right now, and I mean today.
No.
Say that again. That last little part, like, you didn't miss your calling, you just didn't fulfill it. I'm gonna give you credit one time, and then I'm running with that. Glory be to God.
Type it in the chat so I can use it later. Type it in the chat so I can use it later.
That is so good. I love it. Now, with all of that, if you're still unclear and uncertain, you need to be in the 4th quarter reset, because you need the clarity, you need the connection, you need the commitment, and you need the community. So as I bow out of this, I want to leave it to those who are going to host it, Dr. Jayla Ray and Dr. CC. Tell everybody how they can register. I see it on the screen. Any final thoughts? And then Dr. Johnny, she got them C's too. Dr. Johnny Cruz Craig, Dr. Jayla Ray is going to close us and give our final call to action. Ladies, I want to thank you so very much for permitting me to be here with you today to talk about the ABCs of leadership. If you don't have that book, they're going to tell you how to get it. And don't just buy it for yourself. Give somebody an early holiday gift. Bless a leader in your life. That's how we do over here. She is powerful. We sow into the lives of each other, because that's what community means for us. I want you all to take this seriously, because again, if you're not improving yourself, what are you doing? And many of us are doing the most for everybody else and doing the least for ourselves. So that's my last statement. So thank you so much again. Dr. Jayla Ray, you can take me off the screen and you all just tell everybody how to get to it. Those of you who are already committed to sowing into this, just put in the comments today, I am, because that's powerful in itself. Amen. I am. Love you, ladies.
And before we take you out, I want to say thank you, because you're a whole pastor out here in these streets. You done went and pastored at your church, went and pastored somewhere else, and then you found it not robbery to not only tell us to do this, let's put that out there. Yesterday, she said, y'all need to do this. And she said, tomorrow. Hello?
Tomorrow. That's what she said, Dr. Craig. I was there.
We had to do this. So
I love fast action takers, and I love my sister. So thank you, ladies. I appreciate you.
We appreciate you.
All right.
All right, Dr. CC, as we get ready to close, I will give you the last word because this is your baby. This is what God has birthed through you. But I do want to speak to this fourth quarter reset real quick, just real quick. It's a reason it's a fourth quarter reset. To reset, to refresh, to revitalize, to do all the things, the re's in this fourth quarter, because we're going into a new year spiritually, which is before December 31st, but we're going into a new year, December 31st into January 1. And we always make all of these things and say all of the things that we're going to do. Well, let's start today, making a decision, praying about a decision to join this particular growth opportunity that God has birthed through Dr. CC. And I just thank God that she trusts me enough to be on the journey with her as a co-facilitator. I thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to put the link to register in the chat. If you have any issues with registering, please, there's an email. You can reach out to Dr. CC. We can put that in the chat as well. Don't let that stop you. Don't let a process stop you. It should be simple, but if it's not, reach out. We're here to help you. So register today. We look forward to the community. It's 1 hour commitment on a Thursday night after the children in the bed, after dinner is done, to center yourself in your leadership and grow over the course of the weeks until it is finished. So Dr. CC, I'll give you the last word, ma'am.
Well, I just want to say thank you to you, Dr. Hope, and everybody that has joined. And just so you guys know what the registration is for. So the registration, of course, you can follow the bit.ly that's on the screen, and it's all over the chat. So thank you. I see Dr. West. Thank you so much for your assistance as well. But essentially, you're going to get the book, the original book. You're going to get the journal to accompany the book, and then your registration for the Zoom. So we're going to do 1 hour every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. And we just want to make sure this is not a teacher-student type arrangement. It is us learning from each other. So again, the goal is not for my voice to be the only one you hear. All of the people in the chat that are saying I am and put me in, we are going to. So we're going to learn from each other because again, we want to be a community of effective leaders leading others spiritually well. And that's what I want to leave you with. The entire purpose of this, whether you're a teacher, preacher, pastor, nurse, mom with multiple kids and they're getting on your nerves. I've been in education 17 years, so I can speak to that, especially when the babies are not yours or you may be raising somebody's kids. I just want to make sure that I am able to say that I've done my very best on equipping others to lead spiritually well. And for those that are not familiar with the original book, it is literally stories of my leadership journey and how I had nothing but the word. I'm going to say that again, nothing but the word to anchor me in those spaces. So I'm super grateful that you guys thought enough to spend a little time with us on this Sunday afternoon, but we're definitely grateful. Please, please, please share, register. And again, you will have our direct contact. So if there are any questions, and we will mail the books and the journals out when you guys complete your registration, you'll receive an email stating that your materials have been sent out to you. And of course, make sure we have your best email address so that when we send out the link, you'll have it. But again, we're here. I'm super grateful. And thank you guys again for joining.
All right, y'all. Have a wonderful Sunday. And here is to an amazing, extraordinary, productive, and joy-filled week and fourth quarter. No pun intended. Bye-bye.